Now, I don't think I need to point it out. You know, there's really a little bit of a mess here. I mean, not so much up here, but I don't know, maybe down in here. What do you guys think? Get in a car like this and smile, there's something wrong with you. What is up, all of my beautiful YouTube family? Welcome back once again to the Bad LSX Garage YouTube channel. I'm glad each and every one of you could stop back by one more time just to see what's going on here at the garage, at the compound. Thanks for stopping by once again. If you're a subscriber to this channel, you know this bike. This bike is on just about every single video that I do. It's my brother's 2008 Honda Goldwing GL 1800. This bike is an absolute beast. It's got 99,000 miles on it. If you was with us through the Iron Butt Challenge, you know that we traveled through West Virginia. West Virginia is beautiful, but they have some of the worst roads in the United States. And I'm pretty sure that that's what finished off these fork seals. So in today's video, we're going to replace both fork seals, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Let's get started. One of the good things about these Goldwings is they have a center stand. First thing you want to do is put that center stand down. If you have a jack, a motorcycle jack, put it underneath the front and jack it up a little bit. Now your motorcycle will want to teeter. It'll be like a seesaw a little bit. But once you get the front end up just a little bit, then you can start removing things. I'm not sure how far in depth I'm going to go with all of this, but in order to get off this front fender, we need a 5mm hex bit socket. You need to remove 4 bolts, 1, 2, and 2 on the other side. You do want to be careful when you remove these 5mm bolts because they do have a little rubber O-ring that keeps everything from cracking and busting. Make sure not to lose those O-rings. Now remove the front part of the front fender. To remove this chrome plastic side cover, there will be 2 5mm hex bolts on the back that you need to remove. One here and one here, and do the same on the other side. Next, we need to remove this plastic chrome piece that connects the 2 forks together, and all you need is a 5mm. Remove those bolts and unsnap it from the forks. In order to get the back side of this fender off, you need to remove 2 5/16 bolts, one here and one here. Do the same for this side, here and here. Then come back to this side where the brake distribution block is, take a 10mm and remove this bolt as well. Once you remove this bolt, your fender will be released. Now we need to get the brake calipers out of the way. In order to do that, a 12mm socket will remove both of this and pull your caliper up off the rotor. But once we have that done, you do not want to leave the caliper, the lines and all just hanging down. That's not good for the lines. It will cause them to collapse, it will cause them to stretch, and that will be a bad day. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it'll eventually be a bad day. So take a coat hanger, take a piece of wire, something like that, run it through where your actual bolt holes are and hang it up out of the way somewhere. This side is a little more in depth than the other side as far as taking off the brake caliper because you have all the hoses. You not only have these 2 bolts that you have to take off for the caliper, but you also have one down here at the bottom. You also have these 2, which are 4mm for the proportioning valve. I'm assuming that's what you would call it. So once you get all of that out of the way and tied up out of the way, because like I said, you don't want to leave anything hanging, then you want to come over here to where your pinch bracket for your axle goes, or loosen those 2 up, and then come over here and loosen those 2 up as well. Those are 10mm. As far as the axle nut goes, you want to loosen it. Don't take it all the way out, just loosen it. It's a 22mm, and the reason I said just loosen it, well, because we're going to do this. So what that does is pushes it out this side over here. Now we can take this the rest of the way off and pull the axle out. But before we do that, we're going to come up here at the top and we're going to look for this little cover up here. This little cover right here, that's going to reveal a 12mm bolt that we need to remove. Well, We won't remove it, we'll just loosen it up a good bit. And what that does is loosen that clamp up on those fork legs. Before we go any farther, I want to give you a few tips and tricks. Now, I personally don't have a vise. You may not either. If that's the case, let the motorcycle be your vise. So when you remove these fork legs, you know that you have that cap at the top that you have to remove in order to disassemble everything. You sometimes have to have a lot of strength, and you have to have something holding that fork leg like a vise in order to crack that cap loose. If you're like me and don't have one, while everything's still connected, while everything is still clamped up good, let the motorcycle hold it for you. Go in there with your 17mm and crack that loose, then you can proceed on to loosening the rest of the bolts. Now the same thing can be said for the drain plugs that's at the bottom of these fork legs. There's a 6mm bolt that you need to remove. It's got all the fluid and stuff in once you remove it, but you need to crack it loose. Well, how are you going to do that without a vise? There again, let the motorcycle do it. Now we have 4 clamp bolts left. All we have to do is remove these 2 on this side and these 2 on this side. Once you do that, you should be able to rock these back and forth while pulling down, and they should come right out. It looks a little bit different than before. Actually went outside, sprayed it off with some brake clean, got everything cleaned up so that I'm not so dirty while I'm trying to work on this. And I'll clean it up a little bit more as we go along. But first thing, what we need to do is actually get the fluid out of this. Now you guys remember I told you to loosen this 17mm at the top. Well, right now, we need to get this cap off. It is spring loaded because there's a spring in here. What you want to do is take your 17mm, put this on the ground, and turn this off like so, while still putting pressure down, because if not, it's possible it could pop you in the face or anything. So just like so, pressing down, and it should release just like so. Once you have it released, pull your cap. Make sure you got your drain pan handy, and let's just empty this fluid out. Boy, it stinks. It's definitely needed. There's not much in there to drain out, but it definitely needs changed. Now we've drained some of that nasty, stinky fluid out, but there's still more in here. It's dirty, it's nasty, we need to get it cleaned up. First thing we want to remove is this spacer. Now we'll go through in a little while and clean all of this up with brake clean, but right now we're working on the fork itself. Next we want to remove this spring, and there will be a spacer on top of the spring. Again, we'll clean all of this later. Then work it again, up and down. Hear all that? There's still fluid up in here, so we need to, there's not much, but there's still fluid in here. And you want to cycle this, you want to spray some brake clean in here, you want to keep cycling that through and dumping it into your pan. Now remove the 6mm plug that's on the bottom of your fork. There will be more fluid come out. Make sure to dig out that little 6mm bolt because you'll need it to replace back. Remove your dust boot. Remove this clip from inside this area. Once the clip is removed, be a man and just pull it apart, like so. Now that we've got everything broke loose, it's time to go through and kind of clean stuff up. I mean, look at the inside of that. You don't want to reassemble stuff and it looking like that. So take your brake clean, go through, clean the springs, clean the spacers, clean the shaft, clean the inside of this, and then we'll start the disassembly and reassembly. For the most part, everything is cleaned up and ready to go. We still need to disassemble a little bit of this fork. So what we're going to do is remove this rubber seal, just casually remove it from the top. Then you will have 3, I guess what would be a spacer, a scraper, and another spacer. Remove those and just keep them in order. When you remove them, make sure you know which side goes back the way they should. That's how I keep track of everything. So in other words, I know this is going to go down, so I'm going to put it over here down. So when I put it back to reassembly, we know. Now we have our upper bushing, remove it, which we will discard it. We're not going to use it, or we're not going to use the rubber bushing. We'll discard it as well. And then we have the lower bushing. And what we want to do is just spread it out a little bit and pop it right out of that little groove that it's in. And then pull it off. Hard to get off with your hands slick. Now examine your shaft real good. Make sure there's not any deep gouges or scratches in the shaft. Most of the time there's not gonna be. Most of the time these leak because of age. But just to keep it on the up and up, just to keep everything legit, we're actually gonna clean this up just a little bit. And we're gonna take 2000 grit sandpaper, we're gonna dip it down in that used oil, and we're actually gonna work this shaft a little bit and clean it up. So now we got our shaft shined up, no imperfections, no gouges, no anything like that. Let's put on our lower bushing. Now this came in a kit, a Moose racing kit, part number 04030045. But this particular part number, if you need just the lower bushing, is 381015. And as you can see, it has a little, you can pull it apart a little bit. Well, we're going to put it right down here on this little, where it came from. Pull it apart and voila, snapped right into place. So let's take the bar that we just snapped our lower bushing onto and slide it in right like so. Now you don't want to slide it in all the way. Give a little bit of room, because the next thing you want to do is put your upper spacer in. Your upper spacer is part number 382021. Now, there's tools out there that they want you to buy. I'm just here to tell you, you don't have to have the tools, and I'll show you what I mean. As you can see, we're going to put this upper bushing in, and how to do that, slide it down the shaft, pull up the shaft a little bit, and kind of just line it up like so. Once you're pretty sure that you have it lined up, take a screwdriver and just kind of run it into place a little bit. You will feel that upper bushing slide in between the two. You know at that point that you've got it. Take your spacers, the ones that I told you to lay them down the way you're planning on putting them back. Now I'm going to clean these up a little bit, but once I do, and after I do, then I'm just going to slide them right back down on this upper bushing. Now take your rubber bushing, which is part number 35-1033, and we're going to install it on top of the spacers. Now you want to keep in mind, most of these kits, even the factory kits, have letters on the top of the seal. The letters or numbers go to the top. So let's install this onto the shaft. Electrical tape is going to be your tool. Come out a few inches away from where your seal is. And what you want to do is just make a perfect circle, a couple inches above the seal. While you're doing that, you want to build it up. You don't want to build it up so much that you can't actually fit it inside here. Well, here, just let me show you. Remember earlier how I told you to be a man? Well, now be a man and shove that right in there. Let that tape work for you. I don't know if you can see, but now we're ready to install our clip. The clip is part number 383003. Remove the electrical tape and install dust cover part number 361002. Put your drain plug back in the bottom and torque it to 15 foot-pounds. At this point, we're pretty well completed. with rebuilding our fork seals. We still got a few minor stuff like putting in our springs and our fork oil, which Honda recommends that you use Pro Honda Suspension Fluid SS-8. It's a 10 weight. It is for you Honda Goldwing guys out there. What we need to do next is put our spring in. Now, if you have the factory spring, which I'm assuming this is, the tight coils will go down first. Then we need to take our fork oil. They say that we need to run at least 16.4 ounces. Now, one of these is 16 ounces, so you need 4 more. So what we're gonna do first is just pour a little bit of this in here, you know, about like that. And you remember at the beginning, when we started working this stuff, we're gonna do it again. We're just gonna work that, you know. Hear that sound? You wanna get it all up in there. That gets all the air out. And you don't want no air in your system. Once you think that you've worked it enough, put a little more in there, you know. Do it again. Once you have your fluid in, you have this little spacer. It has a flat side to it. Make sure to drop it down on top of the spring. Then take the big spacer and set it down on top of the spacer. Pull the shaft back up. Make sure you've replaced your O-ring that goes around the cap. And now reinstall the cap. And these fork caps, they will torque down to 16 foot-pounds, but I'm not gonna torque them down now. Obviously, when I put everything back together and I use the motorcycle as a vise again, then I will torque them down to 16 foot-pounds. However, this video is complete. This is reverse procedure. How we took everything apart goes right back together the exact same way. Listen, fam, I love y'all, but I can't hold your hand through all of it. You can do some of it yourself. I got confidence in you. Anyways, I still got another one to go. If you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. And if you have any questions, concerns, sly remarks, whatever, leave them in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you have to say. My first time actually working on a Honda Goldwing, but in all reality, a motorcycle is a motorcycle, so kind of the same no matter what you're working on. That's all I've got for you for this week's video, fam. Again, I love each and every one of you. Are you ready? Huh? Let's do this. Peace. I'm out.